Right.
cerebellum, right? Cerebellum. Now, on the sheep brain, you have this, and on the human too. In the middle, you have what's called the vermis. The vermis separates the two cerebellar hemispheres. Okay, vermis. To tell the difference between, remember we said medulla, all right? Medulla is here. It's continuous with the spinal cord. Okay, but one way to tell the difference between medulla and spinal cord is look at where that cerebellum is. So where it kind of cuts off there. Okay, from here down, you can call that spinal cord.
That's not brain anymore.
Right. Okay, basically from with this cerebellum here, it's mostly medulla.
The cornea is right here.
Okay, here's the pons. See how that sort of bulges out like that?
The cuticle is like right here with this gap.
The medulla would be right.
Well, medulla is going to be from here to here. Okay, now keep in mind this is different in the sheep and the human because the sheep does not stand upright. Okay, so their brain is like this, right? It's sort of-
Right, so
okay.
ours would come down.
Ours comes down. Exactly.
Ours is behind the pupil.
What else on here?
So pons and then.
It's a color
Yeah, so it'll be spinal cord.
Okay.
Okay, so spinal cord here. Once we start right about here to here, you've got your medulla. Okay. Pons here. It's this bulbous part. Pons, medulla, spinal cord. Here are going to be, and it's not really shown on this brain, but your optic nerves are going to go out like this way. Okay.
Oh, is that the two little bumpy
Yep, you know
things?
what? That is.
Actually, these.
That's black stuff. That is.
Now these are the olfactory nerves. Okay, these are going to go, and they're going to go all the way out like this way. Some of it's cut off. Okay, let me see. Okay, here's pretty good.
Oh, wow.
So this optic nerve is going to, both of these are optic nerves, okay? And they come from the eyes, okay? They've been cut here, all right? So they're going to go this way. In the middle, okay, is what's called the optic chiasma. And what that is, okay, you can see that better here with the dura removed. All right, so it's like right in the middle. It's like where the optic tracks cross. So the optic tracks will cross.
This jealous
Okay,
stuff.
so that
this
right
jelly
eye,
stuff,
okay, eventually is going to be processed ultimately by the left
the
occipital.
side of the lens.
Oh, so wait, so, wow. That's
Yeah, it's really crazy. So, but that's your,
This section.
yeah, so that's where they cross at.
So actually, so like this one would actually go for the right eye?
I can't go by this.
So that's your left, that's going to come from your left eye, and that's going to be
It's so-
processed
this-
by the
this is
right
totally different what you see in
occipital
that. So
lobe.
look
No,
at
it's
the-
Okay,
look at that.
see, it's coming from this eye, but it's going to actually go back this way.
It's telling you, though,
All
if you look
right,
at, you look at the lens and you see all this around.
All right, gyrus and sulcus, you know the difference, right? Okay, a gyrus is
It's not a good picture.
bulbous. It's like the parts that are elevated, right? Sulcus is just the lines, right? All these lines, that's a sulcus, right? All these lines are sulci.
You got a little black stuff right here, right here.
You'll see a lot of brains from this view. All right, mid-sagittal view, you'll see a lot of these. Cerebellum, remember that you have the arbor vitae? So see, it looks like a tree,
Oh, wow.
okay? So remember, you have more dendrites there than anywhere. You can kind of see that. Look how intricate that is, the cerebellum. It's crazy, all right? So yeah, tree of life, they call it, arbor vitae. And then you have cerebellar cortex. Cerebellar cortex is the outer gray matter.
Read it.
It's the gray matter of the cerebellum. So you can see how there's like gray matter. Here's white matter,
Okay.
and it sort of goes out. That's like the tree, like the
tips are gray.
branches. Right, so the outer part is gray. That's the case with the the cerebral cortex as well. All right, the most outer parts are going to be the gray matter. All right. Oh, this has a really great. Okay. Yeah, corpus callosum is good. Here, corpus callosum goes this way.
It's not indention.
So it's actually, it's not an indention, but it's going to be white matter. It stretches all,
what
it
matter
starts here,
connects the two sides of the
it's going to go all the way back here,
And what is that again?
the corpus callosum. Okay, and as it comes down here, so see there's like two parts to it. It's top, right? And then there's a bottom portion to it. That's the fornix. Okay. Now, this, I was excited because this one has there's this membrane between, you see that? That is the septum pellucidum. That is very difficult to get in a dissection because you have to make pretty much a perfect cut in order to see that membrane, because it's just one thin little membrane right there, okay? The septum pellucidum is going to separate the lateral ventricles. So on the other side of this membrane is the left lateral ventricle, okay? On this side and the other side would be the right lateral ventricle. So the septum pellucidum separates the lateral ventricles, all right? Corpus callosum, and it's going to come and wind down. At the bottom is the fornix. Here is the pineal gland.
Yeah, I thought it was some kind of gland.
Uh-huh. Thalamus. This is pretty easy.
Thalamus and the hypothalamus is
Hypothalamus is going to be kind of like right this way.
Below.
Right,
Hypo means below,
right.
under, so kind of
Right.
remember that.
So
It's much smaller than the thalamus. Thalamus is big circle here, all right, medial, right? And then hypothalamus is going to be like this way. You will not see any pituitary glands, all right, on these, because they all get removed. You know, when you remove the brain, it gets detached from the pituitary gland. So we won't see that.
Any particular reason why?
It just gets detached because of the
So
way the
small.
dura mater is. All right, the
Covers
dura
everything
mater.
but.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, because the pituitary gland sits in. It's protected by a bone structure. Cella turcica, exactly. So cella turcica is going to be what protects that pituitary. All right. So, but it's going to be removed. The dura. Okay, so see how the dura is? It's here. It's ventral. Beneath that, you're going to see your pituitary. So the brain just gets removed from the pituitary when you remove it.
Okay.
What else? That one's kind of cut up. Okay, so yeah, the main parts were the tectum, right? We all saw the tectum.
show the tectum again.
So this one you have to move like the cerebellum back. Superior colliculi, inferior colliculi.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, here's your longitudinal fissure. All right. Huge fissure separates the right and left hemispheres. Of course, this whole thing is a cerebellum.
How do you know which one's right and left? Which way you look at it to tell right and left hemisphere?
Well,
You gotta look and see where the cerebellum is. You have to face
just
that's the
gotta-
That's
back.
right, that's
Yeah.
right, okay.
okay, and so then remember, because you probably will be asked to distinguish between medulla and spinal cord at some point. So how do you do
Medulla
that?
is higher.
Where it ends, the cerebellum.
Medulla's from
Look at the
there,
cerebellum.
The spinal cord's right.
Right. Look at the cerebellum is a landmark for that.
In a human
So-
brain, how would you tell since it all comes down more?
Right. It's a little, yeah. It's a little different in the human. That's like right. I was trying to point out here, right? Since it's going to go down, like in the human, it's going to go down like this, right? You can still see that
The structure
an
changes.
angle, okay, between like with the cerebellum and the brainstem. So you can still use it that way, right? Okay, so find cerebellum, the boundaries of the cerebellum. Here is your medulla. From
It's in the middle
cerebellum,
of it.
right,
In the middle of
To the
the
end of it.
boundary.
right. Where the cerebellum stops and goes down, you can call that spinal cord.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where the cerebellum stops here, right? That's your landmark for the pons. Okay? So just consider medulla to span the length of the cerebellum. in
Is
your
the
gut.
pons at? It's like past
Pons,
the.
the pons is here.
past the-
That's your.
Okay.
It's a real bulbous portion there, right? Okay. So like I said, use that cerebellum as a landmark when you're trying to define those midbrain structures. What else? Okay, you remember optic chiasm there? It's going to be where the optic tracts cross. What else? I'm trying to think what else. I don't think there's too much else. Let me see what they're pointing at.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know what.
Optic, actually, that should be olfactory. Yeah. We won't really see any olfactory nerves here either. Well, you can see part of it. Really large in other animals, not as large in humans. What else are we?
I'm like that, but that's not on that model. That extra part down there. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that should be hypothalamus.
Oh, I thought that was like.
Yeah, that should be.
Then what's-
Oh, you're saying
There's something
that.
under this. Thing.
Oh,
You can see it in that other one.
which other?
This one, are you talking about that part kind of hanging?
Okay, yeah, that's gonna be part of the, basically, that's the optic.
That's this. Never mind.
There's
Yeah,
a-
that should be part of
that's not on the models. I don't know what that is.
I don't see
I'll just scratch it in. And then like, I know that's the spinal cord, but what,
Yeah, some of those labels are weird. Okay, so that, since that's spinal cord, that would be like central canal. Oh, the ventricles, that's important. Let me show the ventricles. So we said the lateral ventricles will be separated by the septum pellucidum, right? Septum pellucidum is that membrane there. All right, so what next? We need the third ventricle. This is better. The third ventricle is here. It's just like above the thalamus. Third ventricle, it's a space. Remember, the cerebral spinal fluid's going to flow through there. Right, so it'll start in the lateral ventricles, and then it'll go down here and be sent to the third ventricle. And then it's going to be sent this way. Okay? So, cerebral aqueduct. Okay? And then fourth ventricle. All right? And then it's going to continue on down the spinal cord.
So wait,
I
on
couldn't see the lateral at that angle.
Okay, so well, the lateral is going to be on the other side of the septum pellucidum.
Okay, alright, yeah, third's right, third's back behind it.
And then it's going to go here, the fluid, to the third ventricle, which is just sort of like above the thalamus.
and then the duct in the middle.
Yeah, cerebral aqueduct, actually, you can move the pineal gland, all right? And the cerebral aqueduct is like right about here. It's going to connect, it's like a
third
connection
and
between the third and fourth. Fourth is this way. Okay, sort of like a, between brainstem and cerebellum.
Okay.
All right, like this is fourth, like this. Okay, and then it just goes on to the rest of the spinal cord. What else?
that's the folia?
Oh yes, folia. So another word for the cerebellar cortex is folia. All right, so that gray matter out here on the cerebellar cortex,
I guess to keep it the whole tree thing, huh?
gray matter, yeah. Yes, they do, folia.
Oh,
Okay.
I need to close that small.
What else do we have to see? I think we pretty much got it. Vermis, you remember the vermis, right? That's like between the two cerebellar hemispheres. Vermis. Okay. What else?
I'm not guaranteeing it's right. I don't. No, I've wrote that down before.
Cerebral cortex and cerebral tracts. This would be a good one for that. Well, cerebral cortex is basically any of this like outer, it's all the outer convoluted parts. Okay, that's like all around the external part of the brain. All right, cerebral cortex. But see, you've got these white tracts. All right. Notice that all of it terminates as gray matter. The most external parts of the brain are gray matter, because that's where neurons are starting or stopping. There's no axons up there, right? So you see your tracks going, and there's just all different kinds of tracks going to different parts.
The white matter's where all the axons are.
Yes,
And
myelination.
then in the spinal cord is the opposite. The gray matter is on the inside.
Exactly, yeah. Gray matter is